Hi everyone, in today's video we're going to start the episode 4 lore playthrough for PSO BB. Hi everyone, welcome back to the first in the episode 4 lore playthrough for PSO BB. So in today's video we're going to get started with the episode 4 part of the story. So this was exclusive to Blueburst. So if you've only played episode 1 and 2 or the Dreamcast versions, this wasn't included with those. So it is a brand new story for Blueburst. Now, just before we get started, I just need to say that the story for episode 4 isn't as involved or honestly as well thought out as episode 1 and 2. So it may not be as great overall, but we're still going to play through it just so you know the full story of PSO. So to get us started, basically, you can see this takes place in the episode 1 lobbies again. So we're on like the episode 1 version of Pioneer. So this indicates that we're still above Ragol. And this takes place after the events of episode 1 and 2. So essentially, what we'll do is we'll talk to some of the people here first, just so we can get a rough idea what's going on. And then what we'll do is we'll talk to this receptionist here who gives us the government quests, which are how you do the story for episode 4. So, greetings. We've got an emergency situation happening on Ragol. We need skilled hunters such as yourself to help us out. A meteor impact formed an enormous crater on Ragol's surface. We believe that it may hold some clues as to what's going on now. Please, help us in whatever way you can. I've been thinking for a while now, and I find it strange. We'd already detected the meteor beforehand, right? So then, how come... There's been a meteor strike. A meteor? It looks like we were okay this time, but what if more come? We need to leave this planet now. Sorry, I guess I'm overreacting. So, all we can get from this is that apparently a meteor has hit Ragol and formed a huge crater on the surface. So it's obviously an emergency because, you know, obviously we've been working on the surface of Ragol a little bit during the events of episode 1 and 2. So it's clear that there's a lot more to this planet going on. And now there's meteors hit as well, so what we'll do is we'll start the government quests and we'll try and get to the bottom of what's actually happening on Ragol now. So this girl here is called Momoka and she is Tyrell's receptionist. She's not here in episode 1 and 2, she's a new NPC for Blueburst. So I've got these quests here, so we've got 9-1 missing research. We've been expecting you, Hunter Taker. We've got an emergency situation here. Thank you for coming. Do you know about the crater that was formed by a meteor strike? I'm going to say no, just so she fills us in. Allow me to fill you in then. Pioneer 2 had detected a meteor approaching the planet Ragol. The lab had determined that it would miss both Pioneer 2 and the planet. Because of that, an official announcement was never made. But suddenly, a beam of light erupted from the surface and hit the meteor. The path of the meteor changed and it crashed into the surface. Thankfully, Pioneer 2 and the central dome were both unaffected. A huge crater was formed, and a strange light came forth from inside. The principal ordered a research team to go and investigate the incident. That research team never reported back in, though. We want you to go look for that missing team, Taker. The teleport has been set with the same coordinates the team used. I'm sure you understand the huge risk involved with this assignment. That is all. So, have got any words, any extra information? I've heard that both the lab and the military have sent out research teams. I understand why the military would send a team, but the lab? this kind of ties a little bit to episode 2 because we know towards the end of episode 2 that there was some little bit of distrust in the lab as to whether Natasha knew more than she was letting on. So maybe that's a little nod to that. Did Irene explain the situation to you? Ah, good. Get to the crater quickly and see if you can find the research team. Ever since the meteor hit, everything's been chaotic. We've got to get more information and help. It's very strange. Our calculations show that the meteor shouldn't have hit Ragol. So clearly something on the surface has redirected the meteor's trajectory and has caused it to hit Ragol. Just out of curiosity, before we get started, is there anything else from the people on Pioneer 2? Oh, good heavens. I thought it was the end of the world. The way that everything shook from the impact before. What in the world was that anyway? So again, it looks like Pioneer 2 are keeping it hidden from the general populace. They did say that they didn't announce it initially because they determined it wasn't going to hit Pioneer 2 or Ragol anyway, so it wasn't really a concern. I saw it. I'm telling you, I saw the whole thing. I had the meteor's trajectory under surveillance. That was part of my assignment. Then, as I was monitoring, something suddenly hit the meteor and threw it off course. What could it have been? Those uniform folks have been really busy lately. It's been like this since the meteor hit. No, it was like this a bit before then actually. So by uniform folks, I'm guessing he means the military. What's with all these people trafficking about? Can't everyone just slow down for a second? So a meteor impacted the surface of Ragol. I hear it came pretty close to hitting Pioneer 2. You could even feel the shockwave on board this ship. There are apparently strange new creatures on the surface. Be on your guard. Things have just been extraordinarily busy for us in the military. The Pioneer 2 army just doesn't have enough manpower. We're not going to be able to survive in our current state. So again, they're relying on the Hunters Guild. So as we get to the portal here, you can see we've got a new area. So we go to the crater eastern route. And this is the first area you come to in episode 4. So they mentioned that obviously the meteor left a big crater. Now, clearly the meteor hasn't done all of this. But what you can see is that there's a lot of, clearly been some seismic activity. You know, we've got these sort of canyons, or these could be potential earth shifts maybe. But what you can see, it's a very sort of open area, almost like a sort of a dusty canyon. So again, we will be running through this in normal just so we can get through it quicker. So as we come into the crater, what we can see is we've immediately got some enemies here. And these are native enemies, so these are clearly monsters that are native to the crater. But you can see again, they are aggressive. Now, whether these are aggressive as a result of anything, or whether they are just inherently aggressive, we don't know. It could be that the impact of the meteor has sort of wound up a lot of the native life. So in regards to where this is on Ragol, the game doesn't really explain that, so we don't really know where this sits in relation to the other areas, unfortunately. There is, in comparison to episode 1 and 2 at least, there is comparatively little information about episode 4. As I've said previously, episode 4 to some extent does feel a little bit like an afterthought in comparison to 1 and 2. Although there is a story in episode 4, it doesn't, to me, feel as well fleshed out as the previous 2 episodes. So where we're meant to be at the moment is, although this area is called Crater, this is basically on the outskirts of where the actual meteor impacted. So we're quite away from where the actual meteor hit at the moment. So we do also have our own variant of these rappies. So we've got these sand rappies, which you can see have got these kind of drill beaks. So I guess they're designed to be able to dig underground. And if you watch my latest PSP2 video, you'll see that these guys make an appearance in that as well. So next up we have these guys, which are satellite lizards. Now interestingly, they kind of look like they should be altered beasts because they've got tons of eyes. But they're not, they're actually native enemies. I do find it funny with these guys that they essentially exist just to nerf rangers. Because basically you can't hit them from the front with range weapons. You have to either shoot them from the back or sides, or use a melee weapon or attack. It does kind of feel like they did it just to slow rangers down a bit. But again, you can see that the lizards were aggressive as well, so there is clearly something winding up these native monsters. As for what that is, though, at the moment, we have no idea. So when we get to areas like this, you can see that there is this huge gorge that is incredibly deep. Now, I do kind of wonder if this is meant to represent the Earth kind of being torn apart by the impact of the meteor. It is entirely possible. Given that people on Pioneer 2 said that they could feel the shockwave from it, it was clearly a massive impact. So, is this meant to be a sign that the impact was so great that it's torn the Earth apart? I'm not 100% sure, but it seems kind of likely. So at the moment, obviously, we're looking for this research team that has gone missing. Now, given that we've got all these aggressive monsters down here, it's likely that they've maybe ran into some issues with monsters. We finally run into another enemy here, which is these big guys. Now, these are called Astarchs. Now, Astarchs, interestingly, are not native enemies. They are altered beasts. Now, at the moment, again, we know that altered beasts are always enemies that have been mutated by something. We have no idea what has mutated Astarchs. There is nothing really to suggest that at the moment either. But if I kill these guys, you can see that when its details pop up at the bottom, and you can see that it is an altered beast. You can also tell that because it has green blood. Most altered beasts have green blood. So we're not just seeing native enemies here, we are starting to see a little bit of a mix. Again, at the moment though, we really don't have enough information to make any kind of decisions on what's happening. All we know at this point is the absolute basics, that a meteor has hit Ragol, and that the research team that's been sent to investigate it has disappeared. Interestingly, with episode 4 as well, at the moment, with episode 1 and 2, we were always kind of sent to search for someone, so although with episode 1 the main focus was to try and find out what happened to Pioneer 1, we had that sort of subplot essentially of also trying to find out what happened to Reg and Rico. In episode 2, obviously that was very heavily focused around trying to find out what happened to Heathcliff Flowen. But in episode 4 so far, we haven't really been asked to search for anyone. In terms of an individual anywhere, at the moment all we've been asked to search for is this research team. We don't really know anything about the research team. It does kind of feel at this point like the government are only telling us what they want us to know, which does kind of fit with their typical tactics of episode 1 and 2. So interestingly, when you get to here, you can actually see another little meteor. I'm assuming that it's meant to be a meteor fragment. You can tell because it kind of looks different to everything else here. And you can also see it's left this huge sort of mark in the ground here where it's clearly hit the ground and then careened across here. So it actually looks like multiple meteors have hit. Either that or the meteor is fragmented and split into these. So as we get to this point, we run into a familiar face. So we found Sue, which you may remember from episode 1, possibly. I honestly can't remember if she appears in any of the regular run-through episode 1, but if you do a lot of the side story quests, you do run into her. So she's a member of an organisation called Black Paper, which is like a criminal underground group. Has a lot of shady dealings on Ragol. And Kirik is also a member of that group as well. So let's see what she's got to say. Do you have business here? You're a hunter from Pioneer 2. Ah. What are you doing here? This has nothing to do with you. So she's clearly here for some reason. We don't really know why at the moment. So it's clear that Pioneer 2 government is not the only one sending people down here. We're also aware that the lab and the military are working down here as well. But we also now know that it looks like Black Paper are working on the surface as well. So there's clearly a lot of organisations with a vested interest in what's happening in Ragol. But it does beg the question of why would Black Paper be on Ragol still? Why are they in this new area as well? Is it that Black Paper have noticed that the lab and the government have sent teams down here and are wondering why? And are maybe trying to investigate it and find out for themselves? I'd advise you not to go any further. You should call it quits before you get yourself into trouble. Besides, there's nothing for you here anywhere. Well, unfortunately, Sue, I am just going to ignore you. Now, if you've played some of the other quests in the game, you might already know one reason why Black Paper are here, which I will cover a little bit later. Now, so it looks like Kirik's here as well. Now, this might confuse you because you might think, well, Kirik died when the Soul Eater quest. The Soul Eater quest, though, is a side quest and is... You could say it's canon or non-canon. I suppose technically it's non-canon because he's here in a main story quest. Now, in episode 1, there is a diverging path you can take where you can either do the Kirik side quest for the Soul Eater, or you can do a different side quest. And it influences a few quests in the game. So, with episode 4, we're kind of assuming that the Soul Eater side quest hasn't happened. So let's have a word with Kirik and see what he's got to say. It's been a long time, Taker. So he clearly remembers us from... It'll probably be from the battle training quest when you first start on the game. Have you been improving yourself at all? So when you first meet him, he's all about trying to improve yourself and become stronger to impress him. The face shows that you've weathered some harsh experiences. Well, in any case, you should be aware of something. Works is apparently up to something. It's just as the girl said. And here's another battle tip from me. The creatures in this area tend to attack en masse. Watch the radar and try not to get surrounded. In groups, these creatures are not to be trifled with. Thanks, Kirik. So he mentioned about a group called Works. Now, at the moment, we don't really know a whole lot about Works. But there's clearly a group called Works working down here, and as Kirik said, they're up to something. We don't know what at the moment. He also mentioned about a girl as well. And again, at the minute, it's left entirely up to interpretation. We really have no idea who the girl is. So at this point, all we can do is just push on. But it's clear that Black Paper know more. I'm not going to say more than the government, because we know that the government do intentionally hide things quite a lot. But it's clear that Black Paper know quite a bit about the situation that's unfolding down here. As for why they know that is another thing altogether. It is very clear from our brief time here that the monsters down here are very aggressive. So something has definitely wound the native monster population up. Again though, at this point we don't know exactly what that is, whether it is the Meteor or something else. And we also don't know why there's altered beast here as well. So with this guy, this is kind of like the mini boss of the crater area. So this is a Dorphon, and it is basically very, very similar to a Delbiter from Seabed in episode 2. Again, you can see it's a native enemy, and again you can see it's very aggressive. So we're getting a lot of similar signs from events that happened in episode 1 as well. So we're getting this, you know, aggressive native population. And we've got a few more NPCs. Now these NPCs we haven't really seen yet. They're new character NPCs for episode 4. Huh? Is someone there? You, stop at once. This area is under military jurisdiction. Unless you have business here, you must vacate the area. Now go back the way you came. This is a military controlled zone. You're hereby ordered to leave this area at once. You want to know why military personnel are here? There's no reason to tell you. Now back off. So it's clear that this branch of the military is extremely aggressive and really has no time for the Hunters Guild. Back again, huh? I've told you, you are not permitted to enter the area ahead. Don't make me repeat myself. Withdraw immediately. I mean, I just made you repeat yourself. You didn't do anything. So it's clear we're not getting any further here. Now that's very interesting. So that fence is clearly blocking off Sue and Kirik from Black Paper. Now whether those military are working with Black Paper, it's hard to tell. It's just like that girl said. Yeah, you're right. What's wrong? Are you worried about the child? The wind's picking up. You shouldn't go down there. I've just got a bad feeling about it. I can't just let it go. So we're really not privy to what they're talking about at the moment. But again, they've mentioned this girl or a child. Again, we really have no idea who they're talking about at the moment. So yeah, really not a whole lot to go on. We've sort of got the very basic building blocks of what's going on at the moment, but we really don't know much more than that. So let's go and report back. I see. So, you couldn't find the research team. That's very unfortunate. Still, I hadn't been informed of prior military activity there. So, Clearly, whoever this military are, they're not operating under the jurisdiction of the Pioneer 2 government. Could they have something to do with these new enemies near the crater? We'll need to keep a closer eye on them. Thank you. You've done some good work here. There's no sign of the research team anywhere. And new hostile creatures have been found in the area around the crater. I'll send your report along to the lab. Thank you for your assistance. You should go and rest for now. So let's do this next one as well, which is 9.2 data retrieval. We've been waiting, Taker. Allow me to explain this mission to you. The other day, the lab sent a research team to the crater again. I find that quite odd because the previous research team has gone missing and we don't know what's happened to them. Surely it would not have been a good idea to send another research team. They were ambushed and lost their research data. Also, we've received the team's distress signal. The military has dispatched a unit, but they've blocked the way to the crater. Hunters have been asked to track down the missing research data. So again, the military is still blocking access to the area nearer the crater. So it's clear there's something going on there, but we just don't know what. But if you can, please try to rescue the research team as well. The research data is absolutely critical though. Other hunters have been dispatched on this mission as well. So if you need to work with them to accomplish this task, please do so. You'll be taking the route to the western side of the crater. That's it. Good luck. I heard that an elite lab team suffered heavy casualties. Make sure you're fully prepared for whatever's down there. I appreciate you going through this trouble. This data is of the utmost importance. I look forward to hearing the good news of the retrieval of the data. I do find it kind of funny as well that they're prioritising the data above the research team. Like, no, the data is more important than literal human lives. Just beg the question of what is in that research data then? The Triforce? So again, another familiar face. So episode 4 does bring back a lot of old NPCs. So again, if you played the episode 1 side story, you're probably very familiar with who this is. So this is Ash Kanan, who is a hunter that you run into first in the battle training quest. Hey you, haven't I seen you somewhere before? You're Taker, aren't you? Zid hired you a while back, right? I still owe you for my life back then. So this is where he's referring to battle training. Honestly, I mean it. Thank you. Anyway, there was a laser fence in the way here. So I went and deactivated it. You know, the principal's hired a lot of hunters for this task. I need to make sure that I stand out and outperform the rest. Hey, you know that android that helped you save me before? So he's referring to, if you haven't done the side story, he's referring to Kirik here. I haven't seen it in a while. I think it might be up to something. I only have my hunch, but be careful, okay? Now this NPC, we have, if you've done the episode 1 side story, you will have seen her briefly. So So she appears in a quest called Grand Squall in episode 1, which is a quest where you have to find, it's like a tourist boat that isn't actually a tourist boat, it's actually some kind of experiment or military ship. And this girl you find her at the end of the quest, unconscious. That's the only time you've seen her so far. Awesome job. I bet those creatures won't be coming around here anymore. Doesn't look like it's safe here, regardless of what was said before. How was I supposed to get around with these creatures here? Yeesh. Well, anyway, things look okay now. I think I'll go on ahead. Alright, what was I planning to do? I was just getting warmed up to fight those nasty creatures. But you went and cleared them out for me. So thanks. Here, take this. If the going gets rough, use it. Thank you for the monofluid. So at the moment, we don't know anything about this girl, really. As I said, she does appear in the Grand Squall quest. But we don't really know anything about her. We don't even know her name or anything at this point. So the part I mentioned a bit earlier about Black Paper having a reason to be here. For now, all I'll say on that is there is a quest in episode 4 called Black Paper's Dangerous Deal. And if you do that quest and talk to Sue in that quest, she will explain one of the reasons that Black Paper is here. It's not the only reason, but it is one reason. And yet another familiar NPC. It's almost like this quest is like bringing the boys back together. So this, if you remember, is another NPC that appears a lot in episode 1. So this is Bernie. Haha, it's you. It's been a while. Thank you for your help with the Grand Squall way back when. So this is the quest I mentioned earlier, the one where that girl appears as well. Were you the one who cleared all the creatures out of the area? I've already deactivated the laser fence. Huh. You know I have the knack. I love how they make him say that again. By the way, a lot of hunters have been hired for this mission. I might not be the only familiar face you've run into, I bet. Make sure to help out anyone you recognise. And if you don't recognise them, screw them. This is a standard terminal. It looks like we made it in time. I hope I can extract the data quickly. So it looks like Sue is obviously accessing the terminal where I assume the research data was, and she looks like she's stealing the data. Got it. Now, to delete a few key segments. With the encryption, we'd never get into it any other way. Deleting access restrictions. Full control access granted. Accessing data. Deleting specified data segments. Deletion complete. Perfect. The job's done. Let's get out of here. So clearly we are one step behind Black Paper again. So this does beg the question of what exactly is going on with Black Paper. Are they working for themselves? Are they working for someone else? Why are they so interested in the data as well? And of course we get a rare enemy in normal, because why not? Yeah, so this is Del Rappy. This is the rare Rappy in episode 4. It's always the curse of PSO rare enemies. Rare enemies will always show up when you don't want them to. And will never show up when you actually want them to. I like how there's also traps here as well. I think the implication with that is probably that Sue has left them behind, maybe. Or that, you know, Black Paper have basically trapped the area. Logging in. Login complete. Accessing data. Downloading data. Download complete. You've got research data. Obviously what we don't know at this point is that some of that data has been tampered with. So let's go back to Pioneer. Still no sign of the research team either. And let's deliver this research data. You're able to get the research data back. Excellent work. The lab will surely be happy with this news as well. You have my thanks again. Thank you for getting the research data back. It seems that most of the lab members on the team made it back safely. Now they can have some peace of mind too. You've done a great job. Go take some time off. So we'll end that one there for today. So it's kind of hard to put together what exactly is going on in Ragol at the moment. All we know at the minute is that there has been some kind of meteor impact, and that the meteor was apparently diverted to deliberately hit Ragol. We don't know why that's happened though. We know that there are several organisations working on the surface, so obviously the Pioneer 2 government have sent teams down to try and find out what's going on, which we're helping out with. We also know that the military is down there. We know that Black Paper are down there. And we know there's a group called Works as well, which we don't really know a whole lot about yet. We don't know why any of them are down there. But we do know that Black Paper keep mentioning something about a girl. And we really don't know who they're referring to or anything at the minute. So there's a lot of unanswered questions at the minute with episode 4. So in the next episode, we'll continue the G-General quests, and we'll try and figure out what exactly is happening here and what all these different organisations are up to. And try and get to the bottom of what's actually happened on Ragol with this meteor. So I hope you're enjoying the series. If you have, please consider liking, subscribing, or joining as a member. We do a couple of videos a week and 2 streams a week as well. You can also follow me over on Twitch at Section Skyline, on Discord, which I'll leave a link to in the description, and also on Twitter at Section Skyline as well. Yeah, hope you're enjoying the series, and I'll see you guys in the next one.